If there's anyone in this country who truly knows all the secrets of the Cave of the Patriarchs, it's Dr. Noam Arnon, the spokesperson for the Jewish community in Hebron. Hello, Noam.
Hello, Yosef.
What does the Cave of the Patriarchs mean to you today, after all the broad perspective you have?
Look, this is a place that has everything. Of course, it has the spiritual, religious dimension, a place for prayers, a place for connection, a place of inspiration. It also has the historical dimension. This is a place with the oldest Jewish history in the world. Its history begins with Abraham, our forefather, maybe even earlier, maybe with Adam himself. And it's also an archaeological site, meaning it also has the dimension of physical findings. This amazing structure that has stood intact for 2,000 years, the most complete and ancient Jewish landmark.
Let's clarify that point for a moment. This structure we're in right now, which is quite large, is really 2,000 years old.
It's about 2,000 years old.
And how has it been preserved so well? Is this kind of phenomenon common?
As far as I know, and I haven't been everywhere in the world, but I've researched the subject a bit, there is no known structure, active and intact, 2,000 years old, that has been in continuous use for the same purpose all these years, this place.
So for 2,000 years, a structure this modern...
For 2,000 years, this structure has stood as it is, the same walls, the same stones, the same flooring inside, the same grave markers. What did happen is that the Muslims added on top of it mosque structures, and you can see that today, of course, anyone who visits. But that's a Muslim addition from the Middle Ages. But the Jewish structure itself, I emphasized 2,000 years ago, Christianity didn't exist yet. Islam didn't exist yet either. In Judea, there were only Jews, and this structure was built by Jews.
From the time of Herod.
From the time of Herod. Herod was also a Jewish king.
Yes, of course. Let's take a moment and really start with what's underneath. Tell us for a moment, there are so many myths and stories. What actually happens, this structure is essentially a monument, and below it are the burial caves, right? Can anyone go in there? You know, there are all kinds of legends about people who went in. Tell us a bit about what it looks like underneath.
Well, first of all, today it's not possible to enter. The place is closed and sealed. That decision was made after the Six-Day War, when the then Minister of Defense essentially gave the authority, what's called the keys, both to the Temple Mount and to the Cave of the Patriarchs, to the Muslim Waqf.
So, in other words, at the Cave of the Patriarchs as well, the ones in control today are the same ones who control the Temple Mount.
Fortunately for us, thank God, at that time there was Rabbi Shlomo Goren, the chief rabbi of the IDF, a man of great courage, and at the Cave of the Patriarchs, he simply prevented this move and established that there would be a place of prayer for Jews. There are actually several places of prayer for Jews, and Jews have rights, entry, prayer, events, celebrations, festivities, and so on. Of course, we still had to fight for this over the years, but he established the principle.
But you're still saying that the decisions, the fundamental decision about what the policy is at the site, are in the hands of the Waqf?
To a very large extent, though not entirely. For example, they decided to install carpeting, to build an elevator so that people with disabilities could access. Yes, that was a significant event that actually required, politically speaking, right? Indeed, yes. And the Waqf opposed it. The Muslims opposed it, and here, thank God, the state made a decision. And they built a tower, although it's not operational yet, and although it's very, very ugly, but at least I hope that in the not-too-distant future, people with severe disabilities will be able to access it. I summarize most of these discoveries in detail in this book.
The cave.
The cave, yes. With many stories about people who went inside, and each person who entered in their time. I also wrote a doctoral dissertation based on these discoveries.
So give us a taste of what this visit actually is. It sounds fascinating.
It's absolutely fascinating. We discovered there a double cave, really a Machpelah cave. You can't stand inside it, you can only crawl in.
What does that mean? What is a double cave?
A double cave is two caves connected by a kind of narrow passage between them. By the way, there's a debate in the Gemara about what Machpelah means. Is it a house with an upper story above it, or two houses, one in front of the other? There, you actually have both. There are two wells inside, and also something else above them. So there are many, many layers of duplicity here. And there was a shocking moment, you could say, when I found myself crawling among human bones.
And what are these bones, actually?
We don't know.
It's probably not Abraham, our forefathers.
Not the patriarchs. But it's very possible that they belong to Jews who were there during the First Temple period. from the First Temple period, from the same area where we found the ancient pottery vessels, which date back to the First Temple period, meaning about 3,000 years ago.
What can you speculate? What was there?
We can speculate that the tradition regarding the Cave of the Patriarchs was passed down from generation to generation, from the time of the Patriarchs. And when the Israelites returned to the land of Israel, they recognized this place, they know it, the traditions continued, maybe they even visited it during that time, and they truly turned this place into the primary, most basic and fundamental memorial site of the Jewish people.
Like the ones people have today near caves. If you say there were utensils there, you know, like they do nowadays.
They would bring and place utensils there, apparently as a kind of offering and reverence for the ancestors buried there. They also sealed off the deeper part of the cave so that the ancestors would remain there.
Beneath where you are, you're not actually on the same level. The real burial caves are actually deeper down.
We were on the level from the Iron Age, from the First Temple period, but the deeper level from the time of the Patriarchs is sealed off by itself.
On a technical level, how did you get in? Is there some kind of entrance? How do you know how to get inside this structure?
So, in the world of Isaac, actually, anyone who enters today, and the entrances to the Hall of Isaac are open only 10 days a year.
For Jews?
For Jews, only 10 days a year during the holidays. There's a date not far off, the 29th of Av, I don't know when this broadcast will air, and also on Rosh Hashanah and Sukkot. Then, in the Hall of Isaac, you can see two canopies beneath which there are openings leading into what is the underground chamber. One of them you can see, and air comes out of it. The other is currently sealed, and that's the one we opened in the middle of the Selisho prayers, a very special event, a truly unique adventure. With a lot of curiosity and also some fears, we went inside.
Yes, and here you are. First of all, you're in one piece. I mean, the myth that God have mercy people.
To this day, I can say I still have dreams about it.
Wow.
There are incredibly strong energies there.
What did you feel when you were inside?
When we were inside, yes. And it's a place that connects you, like a magnet that pulls you in with a lot of depth and many dimensions.
What's called, in the time of Caleb son of Jephunneh, maybe it's actually part of Joshua ben Nun and Caleb son of Jephunneh, basically they were the first to prostrate themselves on the graves of the patriarchs.
Look, here we need to place this story a bit within its context. The sages describe for us the practice of prostrating oneself on the graves of the patriarchs. That is, starting from the time of the sages, prayers at the graves of the patriarchs, prostrating oneself at the graves of the patriarchs became a common practice. I tend to think that this process takes place at the beginning of the Amoraic period, when there is no temple, it is impossible to go to Jerusalem, the temple has been destroyed, and so the graves of the righteous serve as a kind of substitute for sacred places. And since its initial appearance, it has continued up to today. Yes, its roots are very ancient. Today, it has become a very widespread phenomenon, connecting with the graves of the righteous, especially the graves of the patriarchs, because this structure already exists. In the time of the sages, that is, when they came there, they saw this structure. It is very, very similar to the Temple Mount. There is a very interesting connection here between the structure of the Cave of the Patriarchs and the Temple Mount, and from here begins the phenomenon of connecting through prayers and veneration of the graves of the righteous during the time of the sages. The seventh level is the place that symbolizes discrimination, humiliation, distancing, and exclusion of the Jewish people from the graves of their ancestors. And this happens under Muslim Mamluk rule, a harsh and radical regime that distances the Jews from the most sacred place, from their holiest sites, and they grant them a so-called favor by allowing them to stand near the graves, but only from the outside. The restriction is that Jews are forbidden to enter inside. They stand outside and not on all the steps, only up to the seventh step, and there Jews stand and pray.
Help us understand, Cedric Shani, this is the entrance to what?
The entrance that leads to the staircase, which leads to the upper level of the Cave of the Patriarchs.
And today, Jews are forbidden to reach that.
Today, Jews are already present everywhere. No, I mean, it used to be forbidden.
All those years, basically until the 6-Day War, and here, this picture, this is essentially the point where, as it were, this was stopped.
That's right. I still remember as a child, I grew up before the 6-Day War. I remember that we were forbidden. Not to the Western Wall, not to the Cave of the Patriarchs, not to any other tomb, not to the Golan Heights either, and to many other places. I remember the incredible sense of camaraderie from the great victory in the 6-Day War. The Western Wall is in our hands, the Cave of the Patriarchs is in our hands, and the people of Israel are returning, and Rabbi Goren, the chief rabbi of the IDF raises the Israeli flag at the gate of the cave of the Patriarchs. Just like then, the amazing historical connection between the people of Israel and the very first Israel in the world, who is our forefather Jacob, who rests within the cave of the Patriarchs. The circle is completed and the flag of Israel returns to Israel, our forefather, in the cave of the Patriarchs.
In one sentence, what is your vision for this place?
I actually see the cave of the Patriarchs as a place that represents peace. Look, Abraham, our forefather, is a figure of kindness. When Israel makes peace agreements with the countries around us, they are called the Abraham Accords. Abraham, our forefather, is the figure who represents the vision of kindness, of peace. I see this place as a source of inspiration for anyone who sees themselves as belonging to the faith of Abraham, our forefather.
Are you satisfied with the location we are in today? I mean, does the Jewish presence at this site satisfy you?
Absolutely not. The world of Isaac, which is the great and primary world, and the most beautiful one, is open to Jews only 10 days a year. That will have to change. Jews will have to be able to enter everywhere, to pray everywhere. It is possible to coordinate always with goodwill. Solutions can be found to problems. I see this place as one where people from all over the world, anyone who seeks inspiration from their faith, from the values, from the figure of Abraham, our forefather, will come here to connect. Hebron should be a place of connection. That's why this place is called Hebron. Perhaps contrary to the image that exists today, but I believe, and it is already happening, because until before the coronavirus, hundreds of thousands of visitors came here every year. Now it is starting to renew itself. Millions from all over the world, tens of millions, hundreds of millions, who believe in the path of Abraham, our forefather, will come to this place to find inspiration. Jewish Hebron is a place of connection. And just to conclude for us, thank you very much, Noam. Thank you very much. The entire audience is invited to visit.